Are you really 19?
Yeah, I am. I'm really 19.
Buckle up, guys, because this is one of those stories that'll leave you raising your eyebrows and asking some serious questions. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, the quintessential 80s teen flick, has it all. Phoebe Cates' iconic poolside moment, Sean Penn as the legendary Spicoli, and, of course, a snapshot of high school life that many still love to revisit. But here's the thing. Between the quirky antics and unforgettable moments is a plot that feels more than a little problematic by today's standards. A grown man pursuing a 15-year-old girl, and the story plays it off as normal. It's bold, it's shocking, and it sets the tone for the rest of the film's underlying theme of rebellion. Let's dive deep into this story with a critical eye, reflecting on the rich symbolism woven into the narrative and how it resonates today. After all, there are timeless lessons here that are worth unpacking. Quick note, to give you the best experience without copyright interruptions, our full uncut content is available on Patreon. So if you enjoy our content and want the full experience, support us on Patreon. Patreon gang salute! Spoiler alert! This video contains spoilers, so you've been warned.
Ain't that a man?
The story kicks off when Ron Johnson, a young stereo salesman, walks into Paris Pizza. Right away, the camera lets us know he's that guy. Confident, charismatic, and just old enough to raise some questions. He's an instant hit with the staff, especially Linda, who's quick to push her friend Stacy into the spotlight.
Okay, you guys, let's talk about that fox that just walked in.
We already were.
I'm gonna go over there, okay, and change the shakers.
Cool out. That's Stacy's section.
Oh, he's too old. She's not even in high school yet.
Here's the twist. Stacy isn't even in high school yet. The movie lets this slip early on, making it clear that Ron and Stacy are not exactly peers. But does that stop Stacy from pursuing him? Nope. Encouraged by Linda and determined to make her move, Stacy takes her shot, and when Ron asks her age, she lies without hesitation.
You look like you could still be in high school.
Yeah, no, everybody says that.
How old are you?
19. How old are you?
26. Think we could still be friends?
This is where things start to feel a little uncomfortable. The script knows what it's doing, playing with boundaries and daring the audience to question what's happening. They knew this was inappropriate behavior. California law in the 80s, as now, set the age of consent at 18. Engaging in sexual activity with a person under the age of consent can be considered rape, regardless of whether the younger person misrepresented their age. But they don't stop here. They make it very clear where this is heading.
Do you think he'll call this week?
Stace, why don't you just call him?
I can't.
Yes, you can. Guys love that sort of thing.
Really?
Yes! Stacy, what are you waiting for? You're 15 years old. I did it when I was 13. It's no huge thing, it's just sex.
He was hot, wasn't he?
If I didn't have a fiancé in Chicago, I'd go for it.
Linda makes it sound so simple. It's just sex. But let's think about this. If a woman starts seeing sex as just sex, how do you think men will see her? Exactly. Nothing more than a momentary thrill. It's fascinating, isn't it? Watching these movies, you realize how the seeds of what we see in society today were planted decades ago. The sexual revolution of the 60s and 70s encouraged women to embrace sexual freedom, but there was still a sense of idealism to it. This belief that breaking away from societal constraints would lead to personal liberation or a better society. By the 80s, though, that expression of sexual freedom took on a different flavor. It wasn't just about empowerment, it was about unapologetically flaunting that freedom. Films from this decade like Fast Times made it clear that peers, not parents, were shaping young people's values and decisions. The influence of friends over family became a dominant theme, especially in how it encouraged women's increasing sexual independence.
Good night, Stacy.
Good night, Mom.
Take Stacy's decision to sneak out to meet the 80s Chad. It's a bold act that speaks volumes about the shifting dynamics of the era. In a time when parents were still part of the picture, it was clear that the peer group held the most sway.
Do you always climax with Doug?
Yes. I think so. He's no high school boy.
This wasn't just a plot line, it was a reflection of the broader cultural agenda, one that celebrated the normalization of promiscuity as part of modern femininity. Now, pay close attention to the next clip and its symbolism. Do you see that? Wasted youth. Coincidence? I don't think so. The movie isn't just a story about teenagers being teenagers. It's a snapshot of a moment in time when rebellion shifted gears from breaking rules with a purpose to breaking them just because. The entire movie is about rebellion, pushing back against traditional values, challenging taboos, and presenting these transgressions as either cool or normal. It's a classic example of ideological subversion at work. Think about it. Wasted youth doesn't just refer to partying too hard or making reckless choices. In this context, it flips traditional ideals on their head. Wasted youth becomes a metaphor for saving yourself for marriage, for not indulging in casual relationships, or for prioritizing family and parenthood at a young age. Instead, the movie leans into the opposite, celebrating impulsiveness, rejecting responsibility, and normalizing behaviors that, in a traditional sense, have been considered wasteful in a different way.
So, am I gonna get to first base? Are you really 19?
Yeah, I am. I'm really 19.
Mission accomplished. Right before things escalate, 80s Chad, Ron Johnson, asks Stacy, "Are you really 19?" This line isn't just casual, it's deliberate. It's there to let the audience know that what's about to happen crosses societal rules and boundaries, even within the context of the movie. And look at where it takes place. A freaking baseball dugout. The choice of setting isn't random either. It's gritty, impersonal, and devoid of the romanticism that Stacy likely imagined for her first time. The symbolism of the graffiti and words on the dugout walls amplifies this bleakness. What's even more jarring is how the aftermath is treated. Instead of exploring the emotional impact of this moment on Stacy, the movie glosses over it entirely.
So tell me, do you like Ron?
I like Ron.
You do?
But it hurts so bad.
Don't worry, keep doing it. It gets a lot better, I swear.
Better.
Linda, with all the wisdom of someone who's been around the block, casually asks Stacy, "Do you like Ron?" Sounds innocent, right? But here's the kicker. This question isn't about exploring a real connection, trust, or even a sliver of understanding about Ron's intentions. Nope. It's about justifying sleeping with him based on a fleeting crush. The whole vibe screams, who cares if he's right for you? If you like him, that's enough reason to go for it. Forget deeper values. Forget actually getting to know someone. Just act on the moment. This isn't about love or even respect. It's impulse over intention. And then Linda takes it up a notch, dropping the classic, "Just keep doing it, it'll get better" line. Wait, what? The focus shifts entirely away from any kind of emotional connection. Suddenly, intimacy isn't about bonding or trust. It's just a skill to be improved, like learning to drive a stick shift. The underlying message is clear as day. No caution, no reflection, no need to think twice. Just dive in head first and figure it out later. The worst part, this isn't just casual advice. It's a blueprint for heartbreak. And Stacy, wide-eyed and impressionable, is buying into it.
Hi, Brad. You know how cute I always thought you were.
Linda's character consistently serves as the enabler, nudging Stacy toward impulsive, self-destructive behavior under the guise of empowerment. She justifies Stacy's questionable choices, even when those choices clearly cause harm or confusion. Linda isn't just a friend, she's a symbol of unrestrained hedonism, embodying the mantra, "Do whatever you want, no matter the consequences."
I have to quit this job. I'm gonna get so fat working here, no one's ever gonna want to take me out.
Guess Ron hasn't called yet, huh?
Not since November.
Stacy, what does it matter? He's a stereo salesman. What'd you want to do, marry him? Have kids with him? Have this guy come home, 50 years old and bald? Have that little Pacific stereo sign on? Come on, Stace. Hey, it's his loss.
Ah, the classic tale. Blame the man, no matter the circumstances. But let's break this down. If Stacy doesn't value intimacy and treats it as casual, why should Ron? If 80s Chad can get what he wants without so much as whining and dining her, then why would he feel any need to commit? This dynamic works entirely in his favor. And why wouldn't it? Linda's dismissive comment about Ron being a stereo salesman is where that entitlement for a high-status, high-earning man begins to rear its head. It's a subtle yet striking moment that mirrors the growing sentiment of seeking only the best while dismissing those who don't fit the ideal mold. Ironically, Linda herself is engaged to Doug, a man we never see but know works for an airline.
Can't wait till he gets out here.
What's Doug doing in Chicago?
He works for the airline. You'll meet him.
Now let's talk about Doug. Linda mentions him casually with just enough detail to suggest stability and reliability, qualities that society would have praised in a husband at the time. Airline work in the 80s wasn't just about flying. It symbolized status, travel perks, and financial security. So what happens when Doug doesn't show up at her graduation? Linda wastes no time. She breaks off the engagement in a letter.
What you think? Dear Doug, I received your message that you weren't coming to my graduation. Doug, this is not the kind of thing that occurs between adults. Maybe you found someone new, someone more mature. But if you ask me, Doug, you're the one being childish. Anyhow, if you think that I'm going to sit around and wait for you, you can forget it. Sincerely, Linda. What do you think? I have another version where I call him an asshole.
No, that one's better. It's more...
Mature?
Yeah.
And I don't have to sink to his level.
Yeah.
I can go out with anyone I want, practically.
That's right.
Yeah. Thanks for cheering me up.
Here we go again, the quote-unquote I do whatever I want attitude. What's the point of an engagement if it's this disposable? Sure, we don't know the exact circumstances surrounding Doug's absence, but isn't that the point? There's no effort to explore, no understanding, just rebellion against tradition for rebellion's sake. Linda cries during the scene to invoke sympathy. But let's call it like it is. The tears only reinforce a dangerous narrative. If a woman feels wronged, she has the moral high ground to end relationships on a whim. Feelings trump rationality or commitment. And it doesn't stop there. Stacy's actions are a glaring example of this double standard. She lies repeatedly about her age to Ron, fully aware of the consequences. Yet, she's painted as a victim when things don't go her way. Linda breaks off her engagement with zero accountability, yet the movie positions her as empowered. At every turn, the women's actions are excused or glossed over, while men like Ron or Doug are painted as the problem. This isn't just rebellion against tradition, it's an outright dismissal of accountability and the watering down of values that should be held in high regard. And just like that, Linda's back on the market, ready to do whatever she wants. But is that freedom or is it chaos? Stay tuned because we'll tackle how Mark Radner, a stark contrast to Ron, approaches Stacy later in the movie. Spoiler alert! It's a whole other conversation. What's striking is how the movie normalizes behaviors that would spark outrage today. A grown man dating a 15-year-old, treated as a quirky subplot, emotional fallout barely addressed. This casual approach to serious issues reflects an era grappling with the aftermath of the sexual revolution, where old taboos were being broken without much thought for what came next.
Yeah. Thanks for cheering me up.
Patreon supporters, salute! Man, that's where we working. Protect yourself at all times. This video has officially been highlighted.